Hey people, Ryan here again with Trail Now. This is the second installment in a series of videos that we're putting out in order to educate people on the proposed Rail with Trail. Previously we mentioned the 4 tests necessary to determine highest and best use. Here we'll be focusing on, is the proposed use physically possible? Now, advocates that are supporting the idea of building the trail next to the train tracks will state that 94% of the corridor is wide enough. However, here at Trail Now, we don't believe that's the case. To date, efforts to build the trail have been focused primarily on the areas to the north and south of Santa Cruz, and we support these efforts. These areas of the corridor consist of wide open space with very limited physical constraints. However, the central reach of the corridor, which is expected to be the most heavily used portion, is also the most physically constrained. What I'd like to do now is go over a quick example to help illustrate this issue. Here we're looking at a map that shows the boundaries of the corridor and the surrounding properties. A closer look will show that this area is heavily wooded and includes steep topography. So here we are on the ground at that same location looking at the Rio Del Mar underpass. For some perspective, this portion of the corridor is 24 feet high and there's a 12.5-foot setback from the concrete footing of the bridge. To accommodate the proposed path, you actually need 16 feet, 12 for the path itself, and then the 2-foot shoulders on either side. So somehow in this extremely narrow and confined space, we need to find a way to accommodate an additional 16 feet. Now let's take a look at the cross section for segment 13, which is where this portion of the trail is located. Simply put, what's being shown here, it won't fit. To help illustrate this, if you recall, the top of the corridor is 24 feet, and the setbacks are 12.5 feet each, or 25 feet total. Using these dimensions, you can create a better representation of the actual physical characteristics of the corridor, and it's clear that the trail does not fit. Now, this isn't just a one-off location. There's multiple spots along the corridor that feature this steep topography and narrow, confined area. Here's a spot just across from the boardwalk. These yellow lines are indicative of the topography, and the closer they are, the steeper the slope. The flat area at the bottom is essentially the corridor, and it measures about 20 to 25 feet across. Here's another spot just east of the harbor. Again, the closely spaced yellow lines show how steep the slope is there. Here's another stretch that's just north of La Selva Beach. One last quick point we wanted to make here, and this is an important one, is even if technically the train and the trail could fit in the corridor, what's being proposed here is at the absolute extremes for a rail with trail project. What we've found when looking at other rail with trail systems is that they're located in expansive areas that are very wide and unobstructed on either side. That's not the case here in Santa Cruz. Here, the central and what's expected to be the most heavily used part of the trail is actually the narrowest, with physical boundaries on either side. Nationally, the average setback for a rail with trail is 33 feet. For what's being proposed here in Santa Cruz, these setbacks would range from 8.5 to 12 feet in some of the most heavily used parts of the trail. Typically, these narrow setbacks would be reserved for a tourist train which would run a couple times a week at low speed, not a commuter line running every 30 minutes. With enough engineering and enough money, you can fit a square peg in a round hole. But is that the best way to use this incredible resource that we have? At Trail Now, we believe simpler is better. Let's build a trail. Let's build it today. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please follow us on Facebook. If you'd like to see additional videos or get any additional information, please go to our website, trailnow.org.